we'll have one. I know this isn't the third Thursday in January, but, you know, the New Year's weekend, since that was the first Thursday, kind of fudged it a little bit. But we are third Thursday at 3. Today we have Derek talking about and sharing with those on the call his market share calculator. We all make big dreams about how big we want our business to be, how much revenue we want it to be. So kind of one of the first things we have to do is stop and figure out how big the market potential is in our service areas. And that is what Derek is going to be talking about today. So Derek, I'm going to ask you to get started.
Great. Well, hi, this is Derek Christian, like Cece said, and for those of you that don't know me, I am the owner of My Maid Service in Cincinnati, Ohio. Just a second here. I'm trying to get my tools to cooperate. There we go. And My Maid Service operates in Cincinnati and Dallas. I own the Cincinnati office. My brother owns the Dallas office. In addition to that, I'm editor-in-chief of Cleaning Business Today. I own a commercial cleaning division called ACS Commercial Cleaning, and once upon a time was a board member of ARCSI, in addition to the work I do with Cleaning Business Builders. So, and prior to all that, I used to work at Procter & Gamble. And at P&G, they taught me a lot about figuring out what your potential is. And we used to always call it, how high is the sky? How big could we get if we got as big as humanly possible? So we want to talk a little bit about market share and what is your market share, how to calculate it, and then go over some overviews. So we're going to jump right in. So one of the questions that we get all the time is what percentage of people use cleaning services? And I spent a bunch of time and money on research and pulled some information both from the U.S. Census site, but also from some other sites that I was able to get information from. And what I found was 8 to 12% of U.S. households used a cleaning service. Now, the average residential cleaning service user has a household income of $70,000 or more a year. Okay? 15% of those people were using a cleaning service on a regular basis, or 3.3% of the total population based on the 2010 census. So I'm throwing a whole bunch of numbers out at you that could seem confusing. So 8 to 10% of households answered on a survey, are you using a cleaning service? So 8 to 10% of everybody said they used a cleaning service. Now, the way that question was phrased, it really didn't differentiate whether that was a one-time event or an ongoing event. Now, when you looked at more specific demographics, in particular, households, not individuals, households, so it could be a husband and wife and their dual income of $70,000 or more per year, 15% of people making more than $70,000 a year used a cleaning service on a regular basis. Now, you can't always get this data broken down income level. If you can't do it, a somewhat decent way to cheat is about 3.3% of the population in total uses a cleaning service on a regular basis. Now, that data came specifically from a question asked in one census survey, and that question said, do you use a cleaning do you get your home cleaned by somebody other than yourself or a family member on a regular basis? And they answered yes. So I know it's a regular basis. I don't know if regular to them means they get it cleaned every 4 months, every single month, every 2 weeks. I can't tell from that question whether or not they use a service or someone who works under the table. What I am 100% sure is that when asked the question, they felt confident to reply that they used a cleaning service on a regular basis. So what we find the easiest way to kind of figure this out then, and by the way, there are some other places where I've been able to verify this data, but that census one was probably the best one, is you then want to get some demographic data, meaning how much money do people make in your market. Now, my favorite website from this is the one I'm going to show you in just a second, called City Data, okay? But the first thing you need to do is do a cost of living adjustment, because this number that I talk about here at $70,000 is based on average U.S. income. If you're in San Francisco, California, you may need to bump that up to $85,000, $90,000 because of the cost of living adjustment where you're at. If on the flip side, you're in Lima, Ohio, which is a very inexpensive city, this can potentially be dropped lower, potentially as low as $60,000 because of the cost of living adjustment. Hopefully everyone understands what a cost of living adjustment is. If you don't, once again, if you go to this website, bestplaces.net, it will tell you city by city what the cost of living adjustment is. If it is higher, so say that a city is 1.2 times the national average, you need to take that $70,000, multiply it by 1.2 times. So for that city, $84,000 would be our target number. Okay? Once you have your cost of living adjustment, you're going to want to go to city data and pull some data. So I'm going to go to city data now and show you what this looks like. My favorite way to do that. Welcome to city data. I'm going to pull Blue Ash, Ohio. So I'm just going to send the zip code here and press enter. It shows me all of the cities that hit this zip code. Blue Ash, Montgomery, Indian Hill, Kenwood. I didn't even know we had something called Remington. So these are all the cities in those zip codes. So I want to go see Blue Ash. So you have to click on the specific city. And now once you hit the specific city, if you scroll down, want this phrase right here. It says Blue Ash City Income, Earnings, and Wage Data. That's what we're going to want to click on, okay? So Blue Ash City Income and Wage Data. So I'm going to click on that. And now it's going to pull up a bunch of information on this Blue Ash. It starts with a chart. But pretty quick, I get down to some data. And it says, in the city of Blue Ash, households that make less than $10,000 a year, there's 50 of them, okay? So not my target market. So I'm quickly going to go ahead and just jump up to these households that make $75,000 to $100,000 a year. So this first one, there's 768 households. And then the next bracket above that, there's 539, 346, 382, 373. So in Blue Ash, there are 373 households that have an income of more than $200,000 a year. Now, this can all seem a little confusing at first, so one of the things we did to help you with this is we created this little spreadsheet. So I can come into here, and once again, 75,000 to 100,000, put in my numbers for each of those sections. It's then going to total it. We've automatically built in that calculation I told you, 15% of people in that income level. And then it's going to tell you in that part of the city, there are 820 clients that probably use a cleaning service, or roughly 15% of the people that make $70,000 or more per year. And that means in total, in these two areas, there's about 3,420 clients. If I have 250 clients in that area, I have about 7% of the current potential market. So this spreadsheet's designed to help you do all this. So I'm going to show you in a little more example. I'm going to go back here. This time I'm going to fill out the one for a different city. I go to Montgomery. So we're going to back up. I'm going to go to the home page because that's the easiest place to start. So I put in Montgomery, Ohio. I find it easier to work off a zip code. So I'm going to do zip code, and then I'm going to go to Montgomery, Ohio. Now remember, I've got to remember to click on this button for Montgomery City Income and Wages Data. Scroll down for all of these beautiful charts to get down here. And in the city of Montgomery, there's 395 families, households that make more than $75,000. So I'm going to go 395. Now I go back to my website, and I have 409 in the next bracket. I'm going to go back to my website, 348. $530, and finally 671. So Montgomery is an interesting city because you can see as the incomes get higher, I actually have more citizens. So Blue Ash is decidedly more middle income. While there's a lot of target customers in that city, you'll notice as the income goes higher, the number of citizens in the bracket drops. In Montgomery, I actually have more people making more than $200,000 a year than I do making between $75,000 and $100,000 a year. So in total, Montgomery is a richer city. And it looks like in Montgomery, we've got 2,353 potential targets, or about 353 people that I would expect to use a cleaning service on a regular basis. So if I wanted to figure out just what my market share was in Montgomery, I could remove these other cities, and say that I have 25 customers in Montgomery, so I have 7% market share in Montgomery, which, by the way, this is actually relatively realistic data for me, so I've got about 7% of the market in Montgomery. Now, this is pretty interesting because this will kind of help you figure out exactly how much potential you have and how much you could potentially grow your business over time. Now, you typically are going to, in larger markets, in my experience, I've never seen that many companies that break above 5 to 10% of the market. Now, you will potentially have some differences. For example, I have a very strong market share in Lebanon, which is the city I'm based in, but I don't do well in some of the outer suburbs that I don't service as much. But when you look at my total service area, I've only got about 5% of the market, and in some of my smaller markets, I have way less than that. Okay? Now, in some of the small cities, though, I've seen people have market shares 50, 60, 70%. It all depends how much competition you have. When the next question comes down to, well, how can I figure out how much my competitor or the market is? Well, you can figure it out by going backwards. I don't know how familiar you are with the math behind it, but if you have a solo cleaner, traditionally your solo cleaners clean 2 houses a day, and their average client is biweekly. So your solo cleaner typically will have about 20 clients per technician. Your 2-person team typically cleans 4 houses a day and can have about 40 clients per team. And I think you can understand at this point that a 3-person team is probably 60, a 4-person team is probably 80 clients. So a relatively simple way to guesstimate how big and how much market share your competition has is to call them and ask them how many cleaners are working for them. Now, this only works if it's full-time cleaners. If they're using part-time cleaners, then you won't necessarily get all, accurate data. If you call somebody and they've got 12 cleaners, but they're all part-time, this falls apart. But if they've got 10 full-time cleaners, you can probably feel relatively safe that they have 20 clients. You can then go back on the same spreadsheet I was just showing you, and instead of playing with your numbers, you can play with their numbers and say, okay, well, I just talked to so-and-so. I know they compete in the same market I do, and they've got 10 techs, so they have 200 clients. Wow, they dominate. They have most of this market. That explains why I'm having such a hard time, because they're really strong. So that'll also help you try to figure out how big your competition is. Now, you can figure this out for your competitors. You can figure it out by city. And like Cece was just typing in, yes, we're giving you the Excel sheet that we're showing you today. If you're registered for the call, you'll get a little thing afterwards telling you how to get it. And you just go across here adding in the cities. So you can either do your total market, or if you want, you can go in city by city and figure out what your market share is in every city. And wouldn't it be interesting to maybe figure out that you're overrepresented in Montgomery with a 15% market share, but in Blue Ash, which is right next door, I only have a 7% market share. So maybe I have more potential to grow in Blue Ash than I do in Montgomery, although there is also some benefit sometimes to having a bigger market share because it means you're more well-known in an area. And you'll see we've given you plenty of fields on this spreadsheet, so all the way out to P. So you can put an awful lot of cities in here, and every time you populate it, it's going to automatically add it in. So you can see it'll take it all the way out and show you what the full potential is as you add more and more and more cities. Now, this is always really interesting to me because, as most of you know, you only need about 400 clients to hit $1 million in revenue. So it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot of people to be able to get a pretty big cleaning service. And earlier I was showing you some numbers, but in the city of Cincinnati, there are 2,600 clients just in Cincinnati proper who are using the cleaning service. So it would be pretty easy for me to get $1 million company just servicing Cincinnati. I would only need in Cincinnati, if I need my 400 clients, about 15% of the market, so about 1 out of every 8 people that uses a cleaning service to be using my cleaning service. So this is not a big, long, drawn-out webinar today. It's meant to be relatively quick and easy, and something that would be simple for you to do to figure out your market share and your competitors. Very few people in the past were able to answer this question when we would go to conventions and events, so we spent a lot of time and money researching it and trying to figure it out. Something that may be fun for you to do is go out and use the market share calculator to figure out your market share, but then think about some activities that could take market share away from your competition. What could you do that maybe would take some share away from those other guys? And then if you're not familiar with KPI, that stands for Key Performance Indicator, you might want to consider adding market share as one of the key performance indicators that you track in your business to give you an idea, are you growing faster or slower than the market? You know, if you're in an area like Dallas that's adding citizens rapidly, it's easy for you to grow your business 5–10% a year, but some parts of Dallas are growing it even faster than that. So if you're growing at 5 and 10%, and the city you're servicing is growing 20%, you're actually losing market share. So you can be growing as a business, but actually getting smaller compared to the competition if you're not keeping up with the growth in the city. So those of you that are a little further along and have some of the other KPIs, market share may be another key performance indicator you want to track. If you're just starting out, market share is a great way to figure out what's the potential in the market. So resources, we've got the market share calculator spreadsheet, which we're going to email to you after the webinar. And we also, all of these webinars are recorded and going to be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you're wondering, oh my gosh, Derek flew through this really quick, I don't remember this, how am I ever going to do this at home? I'm imagining some of you are pulling city data numbers right now and doing some math, but you can see this whole webinar publicly available for you for future use as well. Now, do you have any questions so far? This is a quick time for questions and answers. Now, we didn't say at the beginning, and I should have, so that's my mistake, but what we do for questions and answers is there is a chat box, and you should, at this point, ask some questions via chat. If not, we will unmute the call at the end, but if you have a question, let us know. And we also told you that we were going to talk something about some events that we're doing. We're going to be doing it in Cincinnati, March 13th through 15th. We're calling it our Extreme Marketing Makeover. And it's all about marketing. The market share data we just shared is just a little bit of what we're doing. It's going to be basically 2.5 days of nothing but marketing. I have, in addition to hearing me speak, and I think I'm a fascinating speaker that you're all going to want to hear, but I'm not the be-all, end-all. So I have reached out to some people here in Cincinnati because Procter & Gamble and Kroger and several other big companies like Macy's are located. We have more PR and marketing agencies than anywhere in the world per capita. Now, New York has more in total, but for the size of our city, we've got more. And I've asked some of those speakers to come out. So we're going to have someone who manages social media for some very large companies coming out and teaching us about social media. We're going to have someone who does public relations for a living talking about PR. We're going to have somebody who used to manage big brands at Procter & Gamble like Gain, who now has a small business going into homes just like I do, talking about how to grow the business. So it's going to be a really cool event. It's all going to be about growing your business. On the website of cleaningbusinessbuilders.com, there's more information on the topics that are going to be covered. But the early bird ends at the end of this month at $249. In addition, we're also going to come out and visit my business for those of you that have never seen it. So at this point, I pass it over to Cece, and if she has any questions, she'll ask me. If not, and if everyone's being good, she might unmute a few people. Cece?
No, we don't have any questions posted at this time, Derek. Looks like most everybody is saying thank you, and it was great and informative. So we certainly don't want to hold you to your busy days any longer than is necessary. As Derek mentioned, we have the webinar recorded, and it'll be posted to YouTube probably in about 30 minutes, actually. And shortly following that, you'll get an email that includes the download of his market share calculator. So you will have that in your hot little hands and can get ready to work. And January is a great time to be looking at that information as you're making and or adjusting your goals for the year. So kind of did that timing on purpose for you.
Well, like Cece said, we're going to do these every month, so plan on it for future months. This month was quick. I mean, market share is, I won't say an easy topic because it took about 2 months of research to figure out the numbers, but once we kind of narrowed it down and gave you the spreadsheet, we tried to make it quick and easy for you. I hope you find it useful data that'll help you grow your business.
Sounds great. Well, we will keep in touch through our biweekly newsletter. Next one that'll come out in 2 weeks will include our upcoming February topic for our third Thursday at 3. But it's never too early to put it on your calendar, block that time out to join us every month. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on Facebook and again here on our webinars. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you. Bye.